Just a look of these photographs, you can identify the burning issues in Kandy area. So mainly urbanization, traffic jams, and also in addition air pollution. So in this my study, I am focused to analyze about the temperature changes in Kandy area. So here is the content of my study. So in introduction, I think I would like to say in traffic and urbanization is Kandy city become the foremost swelling problems in Kandy area. So in addition to that, we have temperature risen around city limit within the time. So my attempt to identify the temperature changes in this environmental fragile area. So according to the National Physical Plan 2030, so you can see demarcated as the central fragile area, very environmental sensitive area. So in my study, as a study area, I selected city limit of the Kandy area. So it is surrounded by mountains and very naturally high biodiversity area, very interesting area because Kandy is the central city and the most largest city in the central province of Sri Lanka. So here is the research problem. So identifying the temperature issue of Kandy city because recently we have faced some temperature increasement of this area. So according to the Census and Statistics Department, we have found population rise in Kandy area rapidly and also traffic and urbanization. To address this problem, I use this methodology for my study. For basic, for the data, I use Landsat data, Landsat 8 data, and use thermal bands, red band, near infrared band, and shortwave infrared bands for the study. First, I have done pre-processing stages to correct all the images from atmospheric and geometric corrections. Then then convert these images to temperature values. Then identify surface temperatures. And in addition to that surface temperature calculations, I have done NDVI calculations, which means normalized difference vegetation index calculations and normalized difference building index calculation. Then finally I have done correlation analysis among these three outcomes to identify whether any correlation been between these surface temperature values and NDVI and NDVI values. So my data is Landsat, as I told you earlier. So I download all this data from Earth USGS Geological Survey, Earth Explorer. And Landsat is the longest running innovative satellite program. And it provides very flexible platform for this kind of scientific studies with medium resolution, which means 30-meter resolution. I use Landsat 8 data. Here is the band combination. Red band, near infrared, shortwave infrared, and band 10 and 11, which means thermal bands. So for my study, I use ArcMap as the main software. Here the pre-processing, conversion from DN values to radians, and sun angle correction and geometric correction. These are the pre-processing stages. Then convert these spectral values to radians values with the use of this equation. Then thermal band pre-processing. For the thermal band processing, I done with different steps. First atmospheric conversion, then Kelvin value conversion, then Celsius value conversion, and calculate NDVI, and then proportion of vegetation PV calculation, and land surface temperature value obtained. So here is the equation that used for atmospheric brightness temperature calculation. And especially I obtain all these equations from the Landsat 8 user handbook. They have clearly mentioned all the equations, so I use directly all the equations. And then I calculate NDVI value. When we consider about the NDVI, it is very significant in vegetation related in studies. Not only for vegetation related, it is very sensitive for environmental related issues. So when we talk about something related to environment, we can directly use NDVI. And here is the equation, near infrared minus red divided by near infrared plus red. This NDVI value ranging from -1 to +1. And then I use NDBI, which is very sensitive for urban studies, and significantly we use NDBI for the urbanized studies because it's very lengthy process of when we doing normal conventional remote sensing image analysis, just like supervised classification, building extraction. So it is very tedious part. So easily we can get some idea about the building layer with the use of this NDBI, hence I use it directly for the study. Then use the land surface emissivity value, which derived from the NDVI. Then land surface temperature. So all these equations, as I told you earlier, I extracted from the USGS handbook. And here are my results. So here is the temperature map for Kandy town in 2015. So here you can see there is no more temperature increasement in this area, very less amount of area in 27 to 33 range. So when we come to 2016, what we can see is the area corresponding to highest temperature get increased with the time. So in 2017 it gets most worst, and you can see there are so much of areas which corresponded to high temperature. And most of the studies I have seen when we consider about the temperature, in most of the times we studied temperature with the use of just graph of maximum temperature and the minimum temperature graphs. So other than, instead of using such values, I suggest to use the area coverage by each temperature class. So here is the table I designed for that, which means I divided temperature values to classes, different classes of temperature value, and calculate the area coverage by each classes. So with this table you can understand here in 2015 there is no more 30 to 36 class, and in 2017 what happened? The 30 to 36 class get increased. So clearly you can understand that with this diagram. This green color line represent 2015. So here what you can see in 2015, the maximum of most of the areas represent 21 to 24 temperature class. And in 2016, most of the areas 24 to 27. And in 2017, what happened is it is around 24 to it is around 27 to 33 class, which means the area representation of the temperature get increased with the time. So here these are the NDVI maps of the study. So same scenario you can see with the time NDVI value also get increased. And here is the representation of all the NDVI maps. And here is the NDVI map. So same you can see this building layer, the area corresponding to building layer get increased with the time. And then I need to do some, I need to find there may be some relationship or interconnection between NDVI value, NDBI value, and also the temperature value. Then I done correlation analysis between these each values. So here is the, then I overlay all the maps together, but it's difficult to find, give some statistical analysis just with the overlaying. So but overlaying you can, seeing here all the NDVI values and NDBI values and temperature values are overlaying in same pattern. So I develop correlation matrix. In correlation matrix I have found that there is a strong positive correlation in between temperature NDBI value and NDVI value, and also in addition temperature values and NDVI values and NDBI values have very strong positive correlation. So as a conclusion of my study, I would like to say, so when we are doing temperature kind of analysis, other than doing conventional temperature modeling, we can use NDVI or NDBI to clearly show how the pattern of change is temperature. So I think it maybe can use in future temperature related analysis. And also, according to my study, it has found that Kandy area, the temperature get increased with the time. And also, the vegetation it cause because of the vegetation area get vegetation area get decreased and building layers and barren areas get increased with the time. And also the Kandy area is very environmental fragile area, very sensitive area. So I think it's very enriched with high biodiversity. So I think we all have responsibility to save this environmental fragile area, and it is very important for all of us because as we know, most of the Sri Lankan rivers and rivers starting from this central area. So when we save this area, it will be automatically protect all of us. I think it is time to take some good actions to save this kind of fragile areas, and I think it is better to implement some green city planning. So likewise, so fortunately I see some of the green city planning project in Sri Lanka. So I think it is better to implement that kind of city planning in Kandy too. And here are the reference of my study. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay.